Hello there, thank you for staying with us and welcome to the Beam on Channels Television. I'm Victor Matthias. Now it's 13 days since youths in their numbers took to the streets to begin what many have described as more of a movement than a protest. Their demands are yet to change, though moves have been made to meet those demands, which have since been christened 5 for 5. The youths remain adamant and are still on the streets, protesting and visiting institutions such as the force headquarters, the National and State Assemblies, and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Also, toll gates and major highways and airports around the country have seen gridlocks like never before. On the program today, we will look at the impact of the protests and the next steps would be moving what the next steps would be moving forward for the protesters, the police, as well as the federal government. You can also be a part of the conversation by following the social media addresses showing on your screen. You can also just tweet at us as well at Channels TV, at Channels Beam, as well as at Victor_MBIDI. But joining us to look at today's discussion, we have with us Olamide Akpejoye. She is the founder of the Social Market Nigeria, and she has a budding interest in matters of gender equality, sexual and domestic violence, and has worked in several campaigns to strengthen the push for various policy reforms in Nigeria. We also have with us Ibukun Adeni. He is the founder of Hack Academy and Booker app. He is also a political analyst and a House of Reps aspirant during the 2019 elections. We have with us as well Indi Kato. She is the executive director of Dini Dari Foundation, an organization focused on pushing for equality and inclusion towards programs delivery of exclusive services. Well, it's a pleasure to all of having all of you today on the program. They all join us via Zoom from Lagos, and Abuja. Ibukun Adeni is in Lagos, and Indi as well as Olamide are joining us from the nation's capital, Abuja. But let's kickstart the conversation as it is now. Olamide, kickstart the conversation for us. So much has been going on. Demands have been made. The government is making moves to meet those demands, but yet we still have protesters on ground in major cities as well as other places across the country. What exactly is happening? Why are people still on the streets?
I do not remember the government meeting any of the demands categorically. They say they're going to meet it, but they haven't met any of the demands. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I said they're making moves to meet those demands.
Oh, well, we haven't seen anything yet. And the youth are saying that if we do not see, we're tired of hearing and we're tired of being told that they're going to make demand. It's not rocket science. These things can be implemented in one day with one order, but they're refusing to do that. Lagos State has started a panel. Why hasn't the federal government started that? Why hasn't the IG, why haven't we seen public prosecution? They dropped 37 names and told us that they have sacked or demoted some of them. We do not want demotions. We do not want we want public prosecution. We're demanding for that now, and we haven't seen any of that. People are angry. The youths are angry because we're tired of being told that it will be done, when in fact they do not do anything. 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, we are tired of it. We're saying we're done until we begin to see action and physically, not being told. We don't want, like we always say, we don't want audio. We want to see these things happen before we leave the street. And it's rightly so, because we're tired. How long are we going to continue like this as a country? And this is why people are not. I mean, we've seen reprisal attacks from we don't even know where. How do people, this morning in Abuja, CBN, where people were camping to, peacefully protest, was attacked. Cars were set ablaze. People were injured. As I'm speaking to you now, Apo is on fire right now in Abuja. Why is this happening if the government is really on our side? The police stood by when people were attacking us. They really were standing there while these thugs were attacking us at 4 a.m. this morning. That's unacceptable. People are going to keep getting upset and requesting for things to be done until the government really weighs in critically.
All right, let me quickly bring in Ibukun Adeni, who is here in Lagos. Ibukun, I mean, that's pretty much the situation in Abuja. What's going on in Lagos? Or what can you tell us about what's going on in Lagos? Or what has your experience been since the protest started?
Okay, so what I really see as the issue right now is the 5 for 5 demand that was made was not really thought through. I think it was really rushed, because it only addresses just one aspect of the problem. The problem is actually two major things. The 5 for 5 addresses the humanitarian, human abuse aspect of the problem, but there's the systemic aspect of the problem that, if it's not addressed, nothing is going to change. So that's why, even though the president has made moves that has answered some of the demands, there's still a bad taste in people's mouths, because the systemic issue being that a police officer can arrest anybody. A police officer can arrest a blind man right now in Nigeria and charge him for armed robbery. And when the blind man gets to the magistrate courts, the courts would know that, okay, this man is blind, he couldn't have committed this robbery. But regardless of that, the way the process works, if first of all you can't afford a lawyer, you're in trouble. You first face your bail hearing. When the judge even feels, or the magistrate feels like, okay, this person didn't commit this thing, let me grant this person bail of 10,000 naira. Okay, first the person is going to have to pay 10,000 naira. The person is now going to be required to bring a surety. Now, this surety in the Nigerian criminal justice system must have a landed property, must be a tax-paying citizen, and the state prosecutor must go to this surety's house to go and do house verification. Now, this state prosecutor can be very busy, in fact, they even use it to collect bribes. They'll tell you that, see, they don't have to do that house check this week unless you give them money. So that systemic problem and remember again that majority of Nigerians are poor, so majority of Nigerians cannot meet these conditions. So that's why you find out that there's a lot of people that are locked up in the prison system that they are for no reason, like somebody just arrested and checked them for nothing. There's no evidence on the crime, and so for every one humanitarian abuse, there is 1,000 systemic abuse. So if the government does not begin to look at the systemic abuse,
so you're saying
people will not really get that satisfaction that they really feel.
So you're saying it goes beyond just the reformation of the police, and I mean the EndSARS, which already has been announced again.
No,
is that what you're saying?
The problem is not even with the police. In fact, if you think about it for a second, why is it that people that are innocent are quick to give police 200,000, 300,000 on a trumped-up charge? The reason why is because you know that the police at that point is your friend. That money you're even giving the police is like a favor. Because if the police should take you to the judiciary, the problem, what you will spend, what you will go through, I mean, for you to perfect your bail condition with this, just think about it. Remember Naira Marley, somebody with money, influence, power, everything, was charged for a crime that, we don't even know what, something just trumped up. And it took him 2 weeks. 2 weeks, he was in Kirikiri. He was in prison, not police station. He was in prison. Let me somebody with money, with lawyers and everything.
All right, let me just hold you there for a bit. Let me quickly bring in Indi Kato, who is also with us, and she's joining again from Abuja. Indi, one of the things that Ibukun as well as Olamide have mentioned as this conversation began is the prisons. And, of course, today we had reports of the prison in Benin City being attacked, and also we've seen some reports of the RRS here in Lagos being attacked. So there is this claim that the protest has been hijacked, and also there is also the claim that the protesters are the ones, making those attacks. But how do you differentiate the protesters and the hoodlums who have, in some cases, hijacked the protests?
You cannot hijack the mood of the nation. The reality for Nigeria right now is that people are dying. There's extreme poverty. People want better. Lives are being destroyed by these SARS menace and police brutality. And people do deserve better. Nigerians are coming out to say, look, right now, this is unbearable. We're losing so many lives. We cannot afford to lose many lives like this. We deserve a better nation. That is the mood of the nation. That is not something that can be hijacked. What we are seeing is people playing games with nationals of their country, with citizens of Nigeria, saying that what we deserve is better. And that is really, really disappointing. I would want to use this opportunity to speak to the fact that, look, most of the uprising, the terrorist activities we have seen in this country, the militancy we've seen in this country, have actually started like this. State actors employing non-state actors to solve their problems for them, using the ever-ready tool of violence. And this is what we're seeing in Nigeria. This is what we're seeing in Abuja, the capital of the nation. Now, let's keep in mind that this nation we're speaking of is already at war in several other places. Who will think it wise that the best way to quell protest at this time is to release non-state actors, arm them to the teeth, and send them after people who are simply demanding for their rights? Nigerians are not even asking for light. We're not even asking for a better economy. Nigerians are saying that we want to leave. And then you go through the age-old tactics. These age-old tactics, we've seen it. We've seen it before. We've seen it in militancy. State actors, employing non-state actors, giving them the power of violence to do these things. Boko Haram, same thing. Same thing. And somewhere, the ruling class seems to think that, you know what, this thing we have unleashed on the populace, at some point, we can get it back. And they never are able to get it back. So let this be an opportunity for us to discuss this, because it's happening again. And Nigeria has several hotspots right now, north, east, west, and south. Nigeria has several hotspots right now. In fact, in this same Abuja, in Tungomaji, people have started being kidnapped. In the outskirts parts of Abuja, people have started being kidnapped. The federal capital is not safe. Who in their right mind would think that a country that is already unsafe, people are protesting peacefully? These protesters are not holding anything that is considered a weapon. Unless, of course, the truth is a weapon against you, then you should ask yourself questions. And then within your corners, different people are thinking, you know what, the best way to do this is to use the age-old tradition of employing non-state actors, giving them the free power, the reign of violence, in Nigeria, a country that is struggling for its sovereignty right now, and telling them to run loose on the youth, on citizens as they complain. We have seen this played out before. It has ended up in over a decade of war in Borno State. The entire northeast coming into the northwest, north central parts of Nigeria. And it's a shame that people who should know better are doing this again.
Indy, let me just hold you for a bit. We'll have to go on a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment to continue, of course. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists from Lagos as well as from Abuja. But let's quickly go back to IBK. Ibukun Adeni, I beg your pardon, who is joining us from Lagos. Also, we have Indy as well as Olamide. But before we go to Ibukun, Indy, let me just quickly ask, how do you feel now that Lagos State has actually begun the process of, having a conversation with some of these protesters that have been out on the streets here in Lagos?
How many protesters? I'm quite disappointed in the composition of this, because again, Ibukun has stated that, look, this is a systematic problem, right? And part of the systematic problem is the judiciary. They are part and parcel of this. I was reading on this today, and 70% of Nigerian prisoners have actually they are not sentenced. They're just there. 70-something thousand population, over 50,000, or that over 52,000 are right in there. And you also have to look at those who are wrongly judged. The system itself is completely corrupt. Now, what you're telling us is that, I saw somebody also put out a tweet yesterday saying, oh, let's quickly vote for 2 young persons. Now, a certain generation of people, a certain group of people are saying that this system is rotten, this system is unfair, and it's not working. You're going right in to deep into a majority in your panels of people who are part of this system that are not working properly, and then telling us that we should vote for ourselves. 2 of us, like it's some favor you're doing. That is not going to work for young people. Look, this generation is doing so great. We are capable of actually being part of this system and getting change. I'm not particularly excited about the prospect of this, because why? Again, we have seen this. We have seen this before. This is not the first time. And because I've spoken about infantilizing young people and our demands and making it look like, oh, you've given us what we want and we're not going back inside. No, this is a much needed conversation that needs to be had by this country. The government, the ruling class, the older generation should not look at this as how dare they talk to us, but understand that this is a much needed conversation that needs to be had for the good of this country. Now, these steps they're taking are insincere. How do we know that they are insincere? Because these are steps you have thrown at us before. And these same steps led nowhere. And I'll tell you, we had the case of Linda Ogetu. Her sister spoke yesterday, and she said, look, when this thing happened, it was hot. Young people were talking about it. What did the National Assembly do? Politicians like to take advantage of things. They set up a committee, all of that, all the razzmatazz. And as soon as the noise died down, as soon as the conversation around the human rights of Linda Ogetu died down, what happened? The committee fizzled, people stopped picking calls. We know this. We know this system. How do we know this system, Victor? We have lived in this system for long enough. These committees have been set up before. These committees led to nothing. Victor, please let me finish. These committees led to nothing. And so young people do not trust that the steps they are taking are beyond cosmetic. And they need to understand this. I'm sure they understand this. And they're using infantilization of us to make it look like we don't know what we are saying. We know what we are saying.
All right, I noticed that Olamide was nodding her head in concurrence to what you're saying. So in moving forward now, apart from the fact that, you know, this, it has started in Lagos, Olamide, if it is to happen, because you made mention of the federal government not making that move, if it is to happen, how would you present, or who would you present, or what would be the process of selection of those who would go and speak or interface and ensure that what Indy is saying that has happened in the past doesn't happen once again if that dialogue is going to hold?
Well, first of all, we decided to protest. Let us decide who speaks for us. And I do not mean by telling us, giving us a link to, write people's name or tell them, nominate somebody. I think that there should be a round table of young people, and not because they want it to be cosmetic, but because they really mean it. And before that, like I said, there needs to be public prosecution. Why aren't they showing us what they're doing? Why weren't we seeing these things? Why are they just telling us? When we see that the IGP has been summoned, or the IG has summoned his men together, and they're in cuffs, because they can cuff people up when they don't do things wrong. So why can't they be cuffed if they've actually erred? Why can't they give us public prosecution? Why can't the judiciary begin to prosecute these people? Some of these cases, some of these police officers, as much as CPs, they have cases in court, but nobody's telling us anything. They've swept them under the carpet. We have names. Where is CSP Nwafo? Where is he? That's one thing we've been asking all this weekend after we've seen everything that has been Akuzu. Where is he? Nobody's telling us where he is. Nobody's telling us how they are planning to remand him and have him prosecuted. That's just one person out of the hundreds of corrupt police officers we have in Nigeria, but we're not seeing anything they're doing. You cannot keep telling us they are doing things behind the scenes. We want to see that you're doing it. And in fact, we want to be brought. We decided that we wanted to protest. Get us involved in truth, not just on paper, not just saying, "Oh, we're going to give you." It shouldn't be a system. We should have the major say in this.
Olamide, that was the question I was actually asking. If you were to be gotten involved, how do you want that to happen?
I mean, by telling us to, we've decided to do this. Like I said, we will come and have a conversation amongst ourselves. We know people that can represent us in these things. We will decide these things and, let them know when we want to be brought to the table and how we want to be brought to the table. Not the National Human Rights Commission brought us a list, and they didn't even wait for, a concession of people to say, we're good to go with this person. Before they put them on the list, we decide who these people will be, not them. So when they bring this conversation to us to say, who do you want? Then we'll tell them who we want. We don't have a leader, like we've said. We've said this a gazillion times. We do not have a leader. But when it's time for us to have people to represent us, we will let them know. We know our people, and our people know us. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. When they're ready to work, we'll know.
All right, Ibukun, let me bring you back into the conversation. So much has been going on. Major roads as it is now, are blocked. People can't have access to their offices. People can't have access to the airports. When will we see an end to this?
I want to use this opportunity to appeal to the Senate president to take a look at the Legal Aid Act. Right, that is the law that is meant to actually prevent, apart from the humanitarian side, the human right aspect, like the systemic aspect. It needs to take a look at the Legal Aid Act. This act is meant to provide legal service for people that are arrested by police officers. That act needs to be amended to ensure that police cannot charge somebody to court without that person having legal representation. And if the person cannot afford legal representation, the state needs to provide legal representation to them. This will ensure that policemen will not just use this brash tactic that they are always using without investigating. When they just suspect you, they just pick you up. When they start having cases thrown out of court and people released, the police will have to now look back into their training that they got, because they did take training in their police college, right? So they will have to go into the training. Before they pick somebody, they will know they will have to work hard before they just pick anybody. So the Legal Aid Act also has to, there's a part of it that specifies who qualifies for even this free legal service. Right now, the law states that you must, anybody that earns less than 5,000 naira per annum Like, that excludes almost everybody in Nigeria. So I think that part needs to be
Okay.
removed,
Yeah.
and the law needs to apply to everybody in general, so that when people are arrested by the police, they won't even want to run, because they know that once they get there, they will
Okay.
get justice. You know, they won't want to. They
All
won't
right.
need to fight, and we'll have less police brutality. And we can be, most
That's
importantly, we can
okay.
begin to decongest our prisons.
We need to start winding down the conversation, Ibukun, but let me quickly just hear from Indy. Indy, the hardship people are going through as these protests are going on right now in the country, what's your response to that?
I think that it's high time that Nigerians actually learn to stop. We actually have a culture of driving over dead bodies, passive when people are dying, just continuing. This is kind of like a zombie mode in this country. Whatever is happening, the Nigerian has been trained to continue, to just keep going and be doing, oh, inshallah, or by the grace of God, it's not going to be me. And perhaps it's time for us to stop. It's time for us to stop and have a conversation, for us to stop and understand that where this nation is going, it's not something that anybody can survive. This is random picking. The injustice is random picking. It's not going to say, oh, Ndikato is comfortable. It's not going to come for her. Injustice is spread and limitless in this country. So please, if you think that it is that blocking of road that is a major problem for you right now, you need to understand that tomorrow it could be you. What you're fighting for as a Nigerian right now is your life. We are literally fighting to live. And everybody must be willing to make the sacrifice to fight to live. Because tomorrow, Nigeria, my fellow Nigerians, it literally can be you. This is not
Well, sorry, India, we really can't hear you anymore because of the internet, slow internet, so to speak now. But I have to say thank you to all of you. Ibukun Adeni, you joined us from Lagos. Indikato, you joined us from Abuja, as well as Olamide Akpejoye, you also joined us from Abuja, the nation's capital, and sharing your thoughts on this. Of course, let's just hope that it comes to an end as soon as possible and all of the demands being made by the protesters are met and, of course, society returns to normal. But that's where we wrap it up on the program today. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you once again.